Summit. We're thrilled to have you here today, and I see a lot of familiar faces from last year and years past as well. So welcome. My name is Jim Engel, and I'm the chairman of the Wyoming Workforce Development Council. The council serves as a federally recognized workforce investment board for the state of Wyoming. Its role is to oversee many of the functions of the state's workforce development system and to try to improve the connection between the private sector and the public sector. This summit is one of the major events put on by the council and its partners. Now, as off the teleprompter, many of us know that when you lose a form of communication, you kind of lose some of your self-esteem. So there's going to be a lot of you have already asked about why does Jim have that on his finger? Well, I lost a form of my communication between Fort Collins and Denver when you're on I-25 headed south. So that's the portion of my communication I lost. For the Colorado wave, that's the way Coloradans wave between Fort Collins and Denver. So yes, it was not yet officially a workforce or a work safety issue. I swear to God, I hollered 4 when this 280-pound guy came running towards me. I had him on the ground and he was coming at me, and so I held him down long enough trying to wait for the beverage cart to come around, thinking if I bought him a beer, he may not kill me. But it didn't work. He got my finger in his mouth. I made him swallow it, so we had to wait 2 days. They couldn't sew it on. So now I do have a missing finger, but it's all good. I'll tell the real story maybe later on. The Wyoming Workforce Development Council, the Wyoming Oil and Gas and Safety Alliance, WOGISA, and the Wyoming Department of Workforce Services are pleased that you have invested your valuable time to study the challenges and opportunities ahead for Wyoming's workforce. I think we can all agree that success rests in awareness and the important partnerships that we make during this great meeting that we have. And being here today is going to assist us in having that alliance with each other. This year's theme is connecting the dots for success. And we continue the strength of tradition and incredible lineup of speakers, the chance to share cutting-edge business practices, and the opportunity to recognize our state's outstanding employers and workers. Workforce and education and economic development as we look towards the future will be the main issue. With new initiatives in the federal and state laws impacting employers, Wyoming's workforce systems, there is no better time to connect the dots to ensure the success of business and job seekers in Wyoming. In preparing for the summit, our goal was to recognize Wyoming's employers in the diverse workforce and to provide simple but effective strategies to put into practice once we return home. Our speakers are experts in their fields, and they bring a valuable experience to the table and their expertise. It is our hope that each of you will leave the summit with renewed enthusiasm. Before we move too much further into our agenda, I would like to go over a few minor housekeeping details. Inside your conference material, please find the summit program, detailing the agenda, speakers, and conference information. On page 50, there is a map and floor plan of this beautiful venue here at Little America, which will help you find your way around the breakout sessions, restrooms, and other interesting areas. Also, please note the location of the exits. And should we find ourselves in a situation with inclement weather like we have in the past years, our summit staff will direct you to the appropriate shelter. Now remember, be sure to be the first one to the shelter because that's where Little America stores their alcohol. First ones are by the beer, last ones are by the wine. So wherever you want to be strategically placed in the storm shelter, be sure you're there appropriately. We've built in breakouts between sessions, and we hope that you will take this opportunity to visit some of our fantastic business partner booths here today, while still having plenty of time to walk through and perform breakout sessions and visit our venues as well as our booths that are available. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask one of our hall monitors. I like that term. The individual holding the flags that say, "Need assistance? Ask me." At this time, I would like to introduce the president of the Wyoming Oil and Gas Industry Safety Alliance, also known as WOGISA, Chris Corlis. Chris is a Wyoming native and a United States Army veteran. He holds a bachelor's degree from the University of Maryland and a master's degree from the University of Wyoming. He has 25 years of experience in employment and training programs and has worked in a variety of industries in Wyoming. He resides in Casper and enjoys Wyoming's wonderful outdoor activities. At this time, I would like to invite Mr. Chris Corlis to the stage.
Thank you, Jim. I'm glad you gave that guy the finger. And I'll be first in line at the bottom of the stairs in the shelter anyway. WOGISA is happy to be a partner in this important event. And thank you for joining us for the 2016 Wyoming Safety and Workforce Summit. Your presence here demonstrates a commitment to the safety, growth, and health of our employers, co-workers, families, and friends. Before we move on, I would like to note that our event today would not be possible without the support of our sponsors. Wyoming and many things that you'll experience today were made possible by them. I'd like to extend a sincere thank you to the following organizations for helping us with today's event. The sponsors are Visit Cheyenne, Rocky Mountain Power, Devon Energy, Holland and Hart with offices in Cheyenne and Jackson, the Wyoming Contractors Association, Simon Contractors, Wyoming County Commissioners Association, Sampson Construction, Simplot Phosphates, Montana-Wyoming Safety Council, Tri-Hydro, IBMC, Wyoming Workforce Development Council, and Wyoming OSHA. Thank you, sponsors, for your generosity and for helping make this event possible. Now for another fun thing. Don't forget to share what you've learned here over the next day and a half by posting on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Share your best practices with this year's summit at hashtag WYSummit16. That's all one word. WYSummit16. That's all one word. We encourage you to pick up your phone, iPad, and take pictures and share the insightful information you are gathering here with others, and possibly any other type of photo that's embarrassing maybe. And it's also an opportunity to take a look at what other participants are finding meaningful and posting their Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram accounts. Your post just may be featured on the big screen throughout the conference. Remember, it's hashtag WYSummit16. That's all one word. I'd now like to welcome DWS Director John Cox to the stage. John Cox has been Director of the Wyoming Department of Workforce Services since October 2015. He served as Director of the Wyoming Department of Transportation from 2005 to 2015. John served 28 years in law enforcement service. He was a colonel and administrator of the Wyoming Highway Patrol from 1998 to 2006. Prior service included Chief of Police in Powell, Wyoming for 10 years and Patrol Supervisor on the Douglas, Wyoming Police Force. He began his policing career in Chadron, Nebraska in 1976 and has called the Equality State home since 1978. He and his wife, Melanie, live in Cheyenne. Please welcome Director John Cox to the stage.
Good morning. Thanks, Chris. I want to just take a quick moment to say thanks to several people, starting with the governor, because he was, well, for one thing, for his support of workplace safety and workforce development. The governor has been intimately involved in this, as I discovered, in my new job since October for years. And his support has been ongoing and steady along the way. I also want to say thanks to the governor and the governor's staff for arranging for the cabinet meeting this morning, which was to start at 8 o'clock, to be moved back to 9:30 to afford the opportunity for my colleagues on the cabinet, should they desire to, and I know several of them are in the room, to hear the speaker that I'm going to introduce in just a second. I also want to say thanks to the legislators that are in the audience. I've seen several of you here. Appreciate what you do, your leadership and contributions to the state of Wyoming. I want to say thanks to Chairman Engel and the members of the Workforce Development Council for their partnership and commitment to Wyoming's workforce. Thanks, Chris, not only for the introduction, but also for your efforts in generating sponsorships for this event and just being a big part of what is I think most of you know this, but there's just an enormous amount of background work that goes on to set up an event like this. And I also want to sincerely say thanks, without going down a list of names because it would be just too long, to the staff of DWS and the service team for all of the work that you've done to make this event possible as we tee it up starting now. And finally, again, to our sponsors. I have the distinct pleasure this morning of introducing our keynote speaker who will no doubt get this event off to a fantastic start. I had the opportunity to hear Ken Gronbach speak in Boise, Idaho last summer when I was there for a regional transportation meeting, living in a different world, having no clue that I would be here doing workforce development and certainly not standing up in front of a workforce summit. About this time last year, actually it was in the middle of the summer, and the message that I heard him give to transportation colleagues from all over the Western 18-state footprint of state transportation departments was one that was compelling enough that it really stuck with me. And when we began looking for a keynote speaker for this conference, it is what Ken has to share with us is so relevant, not just in the workforce development sense, but in the forward-looking sense. What do we have to anticipate? There's all of us are grappling with dealing with the downturn in Wyoming's economy today. That will be something that we will be dealing with, and we will deal effectively with it. We've been here before, for those of us who've been here a long time. And we will navigate this and come out of this, but I want you to hear what Ken has to say, because he brings a perspective to the table that isn't just Wyoming, it isn't just the US, but it actually puts everything into the context of really in kind of a global sense, and gives us an opportunity to see what the coming generations, based on demographics, are going to bring to the table as the baby boomers make their way out of the workforce over the next several years into retirement. I think what you're going to find is that Ken's message is one that sows hope. It sows good reasons for us to look forward to the future in our country. You're going to find that his steadfast position that the United States is the best nation on earth, and his firm belief that the country's best days are ahead, and his unapologetic bluntness along the way, just speaking the truth as he sees it, will season his presentation. Ken asked me to make sure to, I could go down a long bio about him, but to cut to the chase, he did ask me to make sure to tell you that among the many things that he does, the many places that he goes, one of his hobbies is restoring and building old hot rods, old Mustangs and Porsches. He showed me some pictures of his babies last night. Ken graduated from Cal State Long Beach and currently lives in Connecticut with his baby boomer wife of 41 years and their 2-generation Y daughters. We're going to start with a video, but Ken, would you stand up and just wave to the crowd, and then he'll be up here in just a few minutes. Please welcome Ken Gronbach, and we're going to start with a 3-minute video. Thanks.